Welcome to Poetry in an Unfinished Basement. I'm your host, Jeremy Snyder, where we do, in fact, do poetry in an unfinished basement, in addition to all manner of nonsense. Stick around. Today on the show, we have a poem called Dirt, and we have a nonsense section in the style of noir. I do believe, but those adlibs can go a little crazy. So thank you for joining me. Enjoy. Noir.
Johnny always put his liver to the side. He didn't think corn should be treated that way the ponies and the horseshoes were. He put his tuna in a thin-skinned gazelle and trampled about the prairie, holding only 2 sacks of grain and his mother's lost tooth. If it weren't for his grandmother's wishes, he would have ended up at Harvard, skimping out on gravy and other themes of darkness. Took a calendar and a good whipping from a gladiator match that got him back on the straight and narrow. He put down the whiskey and pulled up a number of ink shaft pens. He bled ink all over the paper, with prose, numbers, dilapidated screenplays, things you would want to do with Nancy. They got in the back seat of a bucket coupe and drove around on Woody's Herald, some property adjacent to Uncle Richard. He was a flamboyant, rudimentary negotiator of sorts. He loved staring at creeks and watching the water flow over rocks. Just the rocks. They were important to him. He gathered them up like pepperoni on a pizza, and he brought everyone to story time. He used to say, if you can find a soup that actually holds a spoon straight up, you found the right way, and maybe you found your own path to God. He was a fan of stews. He was a lover of all things quarreling, dancing on pigeon toes, mushrooms of a second generation. It was a deck of cards and a minuscule piece of granite, sharp enough to cut through glass, but expensive enough to not put in your pocket. He left it in a drawer and forgot about it. It was found 2 generations later by the Bixby brothers, 2 men narrowly escaping death on many occasions, one by rattlesnake, one by motorcycle. Knots in a tree, they counted the rings about their own heads, glancing from one ear to the other ear, back and forth, like an investigative nuance. They took the Ouija board out of their backpacks and pretended that if Martians landed there, they would have no need for such things. I digress. We get back to the pages that begin this all, where tornadoes trapped in a guitar were named according to letters of the alphabet, much like storms are now. This isn't noir at all. Nonsense.
Today's poem is called Dirt. And as the rocks melt on this soup skin, in this pot left on simmer for a few million years, these memories push up through the soft spots. And when God's mashed potatoes have risen above the gravy, as the earth pushes food around on its plates, the crust commences its toasting. The sky is brought closer to taste. Then boils and wrinkles form and clouds are told to wait. And as the memories return to the topsoil, where layer upon layer of evolutionary mistakes and miraculous achievements of a certain age ferment and transfuse, the translators of sun, the birthplace of roots, the netting of continents, the boots of Zeus. And as those seeds are carried by a prepubescent storm to lava field with hollow veins, where trees will drink the fog and steam, plant becomes tree, tree becomes soil. And as the microbes nestle into corrosive rolls, chewing rock into bites they can swallow, they burp air into the ground for the fungus to follow. And as grasses form the scalp of aquifers, trapping the brain in this celestial solution, from which we rise for a time to look around, to observe. We splatter the surface with language and colors. We use whatever energy we can harness to learn as much as we can before that energy runs out. And then we return to the ground. We return to the soup. These memories are made of dirt.